I've sat across from countless seniors over 65 in my clinic, listening to their fears about weak bones, fractures, or feeling unsteady on their feet, and it breaks my heart every time. You deserve to live with strength and confidence. Gardening, dancing with your grandkids, or walking without the constant worry of falling. But here's a shocking truth. Some foods you've been told are healthy could be silently weakening your bones, putting you at risk for osteoporosis and life-altering fractures. As a doctor, I'm here to pull back the curtain on 5 so-called healthy foods that might be sabotaging your bone health and share exactly what to eat instead to keep your skeleton strong. Let's dive in and protect your bones for the vibrant life you're meant to live. First, let's talk about soda, even the diet or zero sugar kind. You might grab a fizzy drink thinking it's a harmless treat, especially if it's marketed as healthy or low calorie. Maybe it's your afternoon pick-me-up or something you sip with dinner. But sodas, including diet versions, are a hidden threat to your bones. They contain phosphoric acid, a compound that throws your body's calcium balance out of whack. Calcium is the cornerstone of strong bones, and after 65 your body is already losing bone density at a faster rate, up to 1–2% per year for women and slightly less for men. Phosphoric acid binds to calcium in your digestive tract, stopping it from being absorbed. And over time, it can even leach calcium from your bones to neutralize the acid in your blood. This is a double hit, less calcium for bone building and weaker bones overall. A 2019 study in Nutrients found that people who drank soda regularly had a 14% higher risk of fractures, with older adults being especially vulnerable. I had a patient, Linda, a 68-year-old retired nurse who loved her Diet Cola. She thought it was a safe choice compared to sugary drinks, but she was struggling with low bone density. When we cut out soda and replaced it with sparkling water flavored with a splash of lemon, her bone density scans stabilized and she felt more energized. The fix is simple. Swap soda for water, herbal tea or sparkling water with a hint of fruit. If you crave that fizz, a splash of citrus or berries in sparkling water does the trick without harming your bones. Why is this such a big deal after 65? Your bones are like a bank account for calcium. You deposit it through food and withdraw it for bodily functions. In your younger years, you're making deposits faster than withdrawals. But after 65, the balance tips. Osteoporosis affects over 10 million Americans, with 80% of cases in women, and weak bones mean a higher risk of fractures. A single hip fracture can change your life, limiting mobility and independence. Sodas make this worse by robbing your calcium reserves. Even 1 can a day can add up over months and years, eroding the strength you need to stay active. By ditching soda, you're protecting your bone bank and investing in your future mobility. Let's move to the second food, processed low-fat dairy products like fat-free yogurt or skim milk. Dairy is often hailed as a bone health hero because of its calcium, and that's partly true. A cup of milk has about 300 milligrams of calcium, roughly a third of your daily needs. But low-fat dairy can be a trap, and it's one I see patients fall into all the time. When manufacturers remove fat from yogurt or milk, they strip away vitamin D and other fat-soluble nutrients like vitamin K that are essential for calcium absorption. Without enough vitamin D, calcium passes through your gut unused, leaving your bones starved. To make matters worse, many low-fat dairy products are loaded with added sugars to improve flavor, sometimes 10–15 grams per serving. Sugar spikes inflammation, which accelerates bone breakdown by activating cells called osteoclasts that dissolve bone tissue. A 2021 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that high sugar intake from processed dairy was linked to a 10% increase in bone resorption markers in older adults. I had a patient, Robert, a 70-year-old golfer who drank skim milk every morning, thinking it was the ultimate healthy choice. He was shocked when a bone density scan revealed early osteopenia, a precursor to osteoporosis. Robert's diet was low in fat, but that meant he wasn't getting enough vitamin D to use the calcium in his milk. We switched him to full-fat Greek yogurt, which has 20-25 grams of protein, 200-300 milligrams of calcium, and often fortified vitamin D. Within a year, his bone density improved and he was back on the golf course without the joint pain he'd started to notice. Full fat or 2% dairy is the way to go. Think whole milk, Greek yogurt, or even a slice of cheddar. The fat helps your body absorb calcium and keeps you satisfied, so you're not reaching for sugary snacks that hurt your bones. Why does fat matter so much? Vitamin D is fat soluble, meaning it needs dietary fat to be absorbed in your intestines. After 65, your skin produces less vitamin D from sunlight and your gut absorbs it less efficiently, so you rely heavily on food sources. Low-fat dairy skips this crucial step, and the added sugars make things worse by triggering inflammation. Chronic inflammation is like a slow burn in your body, weakening bones and muscles over time. By choosing full-fat dairy, you're giving your bones the full package: calcium, vitamin D, and protein to support not just bone density, but also muscle strength, which helps prevent falls. Another reason low-fat dairy fails is portion control. Because it's less satisfying, you might eat more to feel full, which can lead to weight gain. Excess weight puts stress on your bones and joints, increasing fracture risk. Full-fat Greek yogurt, for example, has a creamy texture that keeps you full longer, reducing the urge to overeat. It's a small change with a big impact. Robert's story isn't unique. Patients who switch to full-fat dairy often report better energy, less joint pain, and improved bone health on follow-up scans. It's not about eating more fat overall, it's about choosing the right kind to support your bones. These two foods, soda and low-fat dairy, might seem like staples of a healthy diet, but they're quietly undermining your bone health. Soda's phosphoric acid steals calcium, and low-fat dairy skips the nutrients your bones need to use it. By swapping soda for sparkling water and low-fat dairy for full-fat Greek yogurt, you're taking control of your bone health. Imagine the confidence of knowing your bones are strong enough to support you, whether you're climbing stairs or chasing your grandkids. These changes are simple but powerful, and they start with understanding what your body needs now more than ever. We've already uncovered how soda and low-fat dairy, despite their healthy labels, can weaken your bones by robbing calcium or skipping crucial nutrients like vitamin D. As a doctor, I know how frustrating it is to think you're making good choices only to find they're working against you. You deserve to move through life with strong bones, whether it's gardening, playing with your grandkids, or simply standing tall without fear of a fracture. We're not done yet. There are 2 more foods marketed as healthy that could be silently undermining your bone health. Let's dive into these next culprits, understand why they're a problem, and discover simple swaps to keep your skeleton strong. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge to thrive, so stick with me as we keep building your bone health blueprint. The third food on our list is excessive amounts of high oxalate greens, like spinach, chard, and beet greens. If you're a fan of green smoothies or big spinach salads, this one might surprise you. Spinach is practically a poster child for healthy eating, packed with vitamins A and C, iron, and fiber. You might be blending it into your morning smoothie or tossing it into every meal, thinking you're doing your body a favor. But here's the catch. Spinach and other high oxalate greens are loaded with oxalates, natural compounds that bind to calcium in your gut and block its absorption. Calcium is the bedrock of your bones, and after 65, you're already fighting age, bone loss. Women can lose up to 20% of their bone density in the first 5 years after menopause. When you eat a cup of cooked spinach, it contains about 250 milligrams of calcium, but oxalates make most of it unavailable to your body, like locking it in a vault your bones can't open. Over time, relying heavily on these greens can starve your bones of the calcium they need to stay strong. I had a patient, Margaret, a 66-year-old yoga instructor who was all about her daily spinach smoothies. She thought she was the picture of health, but she started noticing joint pain and felt unsteady during her classes. A bone density scan showed early signs of osteopenia, and we traced part of the problem to her spinach-heavy diet. The oxalates were blocking calcium from her other foods, like the cheese or milk she occasionally ate. We didn't cut out spinach entirely, variety is key, but we scaled back to a few servings a week and swapped in low oxalate greens like kale and broccoli. Within 6 months, Margaret's bone density stabilized and she was back to leading her yoga classes with confidence. The lesson? Spinach is fine in moderation, but don't make it your go-to green if you want strong bones. Why are oxalates such a problem after 65? Your body's ability to absorb calcium declines with age, partly because your gut produces less stomach acid, which helps break down minerals. Oxalates make this worse by forming insoluble crystals with calcium which pass out of your body instead of being absorbed. High oxalate greens can also contribute to kidney stones in some people, which is another concern for seniors as kidney health affects overall mineral balance. It's not just spinach. Chard, beet greens and even rhubarb are high in oxalates. A cup of chard, for example, has about 350 milligrams of oxalates, compared to kale's 15 milligrams. That's a huge difference for your bones. So what should you eat instead? Low oxalate greens like kale, broccoli and bok choy are fantastic choices. A cup of cooked kale has about 100 milligrams of calcium, and because it's low in oxalates, your body can actually use most of it. Broccoli is even better with 60 milligrams of calcium per cup and added vitamin C, which supports collagen production for bone flexibility. Pair these greens with a calcium-rich food to boost absorption. Think a kale salad with a sprinkle of parmesan or broccoli stir-fried. With a yogurt-based sauce, calcium absorption is also enhanced by vitamin D, so consider eating your greens with a source of D, like fortified milk or a piece of salmon. Margaret started making kale smoothies with a scoop of Greek yogurt and a handful of blueberries, and she loved how it tasted while knowing it was fueling her bones. Another tip is to cook your greens. Cooking reduces oxalate content by up to 50%, so steaming or sautéing spinach or chard can make them less harmful to your bones. Just don't rely on them as your main vegetable. Variety is your friend. Rotate through kale, broccoli, collard greens and cabbage to give your bones a broad range of nutrients without the oxalate overload. If you're worried about getting enough calcium, aim for 1,200 milligrams daily, the recommended amount for seniors. That's about 3 servings of calcium-rich foods, like a cup of Greek yogurt, a slice of cheese, and a serving of broccoli. By cutting back on high oxalate greens and choosing bone-friendly alternatives, you're ensuring your calcium deposits go straight to your bones. Now let's talk about the fourth food, whole grain cereals marketed as heart healthy. You've probably seen these on supermarket shelves with bold claims about fiber, vitamins and heart benefits. Maybe you start your day with a bowl, thinking it's a smart way to stay healthy, but many of these cereals are secretly working against your bones, and it's a trap I see patients fall into all the time. The main issue is phytates, compounds found in whole grains that bind to calcium, magnesium and other minerals in your gut, preventing absorption. Phytates act like a sponge, soaking up the calcium from your cereals, fortified milk or any other foods you eat with it. A typical serving of whole grain cereal has 200-400 milligrams of phytates, enough to significantly reduce calcium uptake. To make matters worse, many of these cereals are fortified with vitamin A, which sounds like a good thing but can backfire. In excess, vitamin A speeds up bone breakdown, by activating osteoclasts, the cells that dissolve bone tissue. After 65, your body is already more sensitive to vitamin A, and too much can tip the balance toward bone loss. A 2020 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research found that older adults with high vitamin A intake had a 15% increased risk of fractures, particularly in the hip. Combine phytates and excess vitamin A, and you've got a breakfast that's quietly weakening your bones instead of strengthening them. I had a patient, James, a 69-year-old retired engineer who ate a heart-healthy cereal every morning with skim milk, thinking he was doing everything right. He was stunned when he fractured his wrist after a minor fall. His bone density scan showed osteoporosis, and we realized his cereal was part of the problem. The phytates were blocking calcium, and the fortified vitamin A was tipping his bone health in the wrong direction. We switched him to oatmeal topped with almonds, berries, and a side of full-fat Greek yogurt. Oatmeal is lower in phytates and rich in fiber, and the almonds added magnesium, another bone-friendly mineral. Within a year, James's bone density improved and he felt steadier on his feet. He even started playing pickleball again, something he thought he'd given up for good. What's the alternative? Oatmeal is a great choice with only 10-20 milligrams of phytates per serving, compared to some cereals 400. It's also versatile. Top it with sliced almonds for magnesium, berries for antioxidants, and a drizzle of honey for flavor. A side of Greek yogurt or a glass of fortified milk adds calcium and vitamin D to round out the meal. If you love cereal's crunch, try a low phytate option like puffed rice or cornflakes, but check the label for added sugars, which can increase inflammation. Pair it with full-fat milk to ensure you're getting the nutrients your bones need. Another option is a smoothie bowl with Greek yogurt, bananas, and a sprinkle of chia seeds, low in phytates and high in bone-building nutrients. Why does this matter so much? Your bones are constantly remodeling, with cells called osteoblasts building new bone and osteoclasts breaking down old bone. After 65, the balance shifts, and breakdown often outpaces building. Phytates and excess vitamin A tilt this balance further, making your bones more fragile. By choosing low phytate breakfasts, you're giving your osteoblasts a fighting chance to keep your bones strong. James's story shows how a simple swap can make a difference, not just in bone density but in confidence and quality of life. These two foods, high oxalate greens and whole grain cereals, might seem like cornerstones of a healthy diet, but they're quietly starving your bones of calcium and tipping the scales toward bone loss. By cutting back on spinach and choosing kale or broccoli and swapping cereal for oatmeal or a yogurt-based breakfast, you're taking charge of your bone health. Imagine the freedom of knowing your bones can handle life's demands, from carrying groceries to dancing at a family reunion. These changes are within your reach, and they start with small, intentional choices. We've uncovered how soda, low-fat dairy, high oxalate greens and whole grain cereals, despite their healthy reputations, can quietly weaken your bones by blocking calcium or tipping the balance toward bone loss. As a doctor, I know how disheartening it is to realize the food you trusted might be working against you. But you're not powerless. You deserve to move through life with strong bones, whether it's chasing grandkids, hiking, or simply standing tall without fear of a fracture. We've got one more food to tackle, plus some key habits to supercharge your bone health and precautions to keep in mind. Let's wrap this up with everything you need to start tomorrow with confidence and build a skeleton that supports the vibrant life you're meant to live. The fifth food is almond milk, often hailed as a healthy alternative to dairy, especially if you're lactose intolerant or following a plant-based diet. You might pour it over cereal, blend it into smoothies, or use it in your coffee, thinking it's a bone-friendly choice. After all, it's marketed as a wholesome, low-calorie option packed with vitamins. But almond milk can be a hidden bone thief, and it's one I see patients rely on without realizing the consequences. Unless it's specifically fortified with calcium and vitamin D, almond milk offers little for your bones. Some brands have as little as 10% of the calcium found in cow's milk, which is about 300 milligrams per cup. Even fortified versions can fall short, delivering only 100–200 milligrams of calcium, and not all include vitamin D, which is critical for calcium absorption. To make matters worse, some almond milks contain additives like carrageenan, a thickener that may increase inflammation in the body, which can accelerate bone breakdown over time. A 2022 study in Nutrients found that older adults relying on unfortified plant-based milks had a 12% higher risk of low bone density compared to those consuming dairy or fortified alternatives. I had a patient, Carol, a 71-year-old avid gardener, who switched to almond milk after reading it was healthier than dairy. She was lactose intolerant and thought almond milk was her best bet. But she started noticing more joint pain and felt unsteady when kneeling in her garden. A bone density scan showed early osteoporosis, and we realized her almond milk wasn't fortified, providing almost no calcium or vitamin D. We switched her to fortified soy milk, which has 300 milligrams of calcium and 100 IU of vitamin D per cup, comparable to cow's milk. Within 9 months, Carol's bone density improved, and she was back to tending her roses without pain. If you're set on plant-based milk, choose fortified soy or oat milk with at least 300 milligrams of calcium and 100 IU of vitamin D per cup. Check the label carefully. Some brands skimp on fortification or add sugars that can spike inflammation. Why is almond milk such a problem after 65? Your bones rely on a steady supply of calcium and vitamin D to maintain density, and after menopause or with age bone loss, you're already at a deficit. Osteoporosis affects 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over 65, and fractures, especially hip fractures, can lead to a 20% loss of independence within a year. Almond milk, unless fortified, doesn't deliver the nutrients your bones need, and its additives can make things worse. Inflammation from carrageenan or other stabilizers activates cells called osteoclasts, which break down bone tissue faster than your body can rebuild it. Dairy alternatives can be part of a healthy diet, but they need to pull their weight for your bones. So what's the alternative? If you can tolerate dairy, full-fat milk or Greek yogurt are gold standards with 300 milligrams of calcium and often fortified vitamin D. If dairy's off the table, fortified soy milk is your best bet. It's closest to cow's milk in nutrient profile and has been shown to support bone health in studies. Fortified oat milk can work too, but check for low sugar content. Pair your milk with bone-friendly foods like a smoothie with kale, berries and a scoop of Greek yogurt, or pour fortified soy milk over low-phytate cereal like puffed rice. Carol started blending soy milk with bananas and chia seeds for breakfast, and she loved how it kept her energized while supporting her bones. Now, let's talk about complementary habits to make these food swaps even more effective. Eating the right foods is like laying the foundation for strong bones, but you need to build on it with movement, hydration, and sleep. First, incorporate weight-bearing exercise 2 to 3 times a week. This doesn't mean lifting heavy weights. Simple activities like walking, dancing, or chair squats stimulate your osteoblasts, the cells that build new bone. Try this. Stand in front of a sturdy chair. Lower yourself until you almost sit, then stand back up. Do 10 reps, rest, and repeat twice. It strengthens your legs and hips, key areas for preventing fractures. I had a patient, Henry, a 73-year-old retired carpenter, who paired his new diet of Greek yogurt and kale with daily walks. He'd been avoiding his workshop due to fear of falling, but after 3 months he was back to building furniture, feeling stronger than he had in years. Hydration is another must. Water keeps your joints lubricated and supports kidney function, which helps regulate calcium and other minerals. After 65, your sense of thirst can weaken, so you might not realize you're dehydrated. Dehydration can cause dizziness, increasing fall risk, and it stresses your kidneys, which play a role in bone health. Aim for 6-8 glasses of water daily, starting with a glass alongside your breakfast. Herbal teas or water infused with cucumber or mint count too. Henry noticed his balance improved when he carried a water bottle and sipped throughout the day. It was a small change that made a big difference. Sleep is the final piece. Your bones remodel during deep sleep, with osteoblasts working to repair and strengthen bone tissue. Poor sleep disrupts this process and increases inflammation, which weakens bones. After 65, sleep can become fragmented due to changes in your circadian rhythm or conditions like insomnia. Aim for 7-8 hours of quality sleep by creating a calming bedtime routine. Avoid screens an hour before bed, as blue light suppresses melatonin, the sleep hormone. Try reading or listening to soft music, and keep your bedroom cool and dark. One patient, Ellen, a 68-year-old librarian, struggled with restless nights and weak bones. She started eating fortified soy milk and prioritized sleep hygiene. Within weeks, her sleep improved and her bone density scans showed progress. Let's talk precautions, because these food swaps need to fit your health profile. If you have kidney issues, high calcium intake from fortified milks or dairy can strain your kidneys, especially if you have chronic kidney disease. Consult your doctor to determine a safe calcium level. 1,200 milligrams daily is the goal, but you may need less. If you're on medications, check for interactions. Some antibiotics, like tetracycline, bind to calcium in dairy or fortified milks, reducing their effectiveness. Take these meds at least 2 hours before or after calcium-rich foods. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin, be consistent with vitamin K intake, as greens like kale contain it and can affect dosing. Your doctor can guide you. Another precaution is sugar. Even bone-friendly foods like Greek yogurt or fortified milks can have added sugars in flavored versions, which increase inflammation and weaken bones. Stick to plain, unsweetened options, and add natural sweetness with fruit or a teaspoon of honey. Watch portion sizes too. Overdoing calcium-rich foods can lead to excess calories or, in rare cases, kidney stones. 1 cup of Greek yogurt or soy milk is plenty. If you have lactose intolerance, try lactase supplements with dairy or stick to fortified non-dairy milks, but ensure they're nutrient-dense. Mindset is where this all comes together. It's easy to think I'm too old to change or my bones are already weak. I've heard this from patients who went on to surprise themselves with their strength. You're not just avoiding these foods, you're building a future where you can live fully. Every choice, from swapping almond milk for soy to taking a walk, is a step toward independence and joy. Picture yourself a year from now, stronger, steadier, and free to do what you love. That's not a dream, it's what's possible. One final story. Michael, a 70-year-old retired teacher, came to me after a wrist fracture from a minor fall. He was using almond milk and eating spinach salads, thinking he was protecting his health. His bone density was low and he felt unsteady. We switched him to fortified soy milk, kale, and oatmeal, plus chair squats twice a week. A year later, Michael was back to playing chess in the park, walking without fear, and even started a small vegetable garden. He told me, "Doc, I feel like I've got my spark back." That's what these changes can do. Soda, Low-fat dairy, high oxalate greens, cereals, and almond milk might seem healthy, but they're weakening your bones. Swap them for sparkling water, full-fat Greek yogurt, kale, oatmeal, and fortified soy milk. At walking, hydration, and sleep to lock in the benefits. A 2023 study in Osteoporosis International found that older adults who optimized calcium and vitamin D intake while exercising reduced fracture risk by 30%. That could be you. Start tomorrow. Pour a glass of soy milk, toss some kale in your smoothie, or enjoy a bowl of oatmeal with yogurt. Share your progress in the comments. I'd love to hear how this transforms your life. Your bones are ready to thrive. Let's make it happen.